I did a video a few days ago about efforts to increase diversity in comics and why, to me, they seem to be really short-sighted and in many cases useless because after the titles get announced, seemingly people lose interest and then the title gets almost immediately canceled and then rinse and repeat. And that's kind of where we are now. Well, I had a good discussion. Well, I mean, a short discussion, as all things in Twitter are, with Eric Canete on Twitter, who brought up a counterpoint that I think was accurate. He made a good point here in what he was trying to say, and he's a smart guy. So I want to give a little bit more time to the subject and kind of go into the ins, the outs, and make sure I'm presenting other parts of this picture. Hey everybody, this is Perch. I did this video a while back. Well, I mean a while back, a few days ago. I don't have any sense of time or meaning anymore. We live in the land of COVID, so it's all good. Let me just take another drink here. I'm turning into an alcoholic through this period. Anyway, let me give you the initial premise of my video. And like all things, it's a conversation. I don't write up scripts for myself. I know many people do. Many far more successful video channels write scripts and have, talking points and everything's bulleted out for them and everything else. I don't. You're hearing a stream of consciousness. It's not been uncommon that like midway through the video, I suddenly decide, hey, you know what? I've talked myself out of what I was originally saying. That happens too. But at any rate, my point in the initial video was that, if the goal of the publisher, and the publisher says this is their goal, it's their stated goal, that they want to increase diversity. They want to reach new markets. They want to, for people of all races, all genders, all everything, to be able to see themselves in the stories. And the business reason for this is that, of course, as a new market develops and we want to get new people into comics and we want to grow, you can't just pedal to the same single demographic, or you just can't make comics just for young white males and then hope for the best, because eventually they will age, move on. You won't grow beyond that audience. So diversifying your approach is a smart plan. Now, by the way, as a subnote to this, one of the biggest opportunities for Western comics is what they can see happening, certainly with manga. It's not really happening from Europe, but it's certainly happening from Japan. It's that there's a whole worldwide, we live in a connected world now. And in theory, you want these comics to go to South America, to Europe, to Australia, to Africa, to Asia, and you want to be able to sell comics and characters and IP there. So you're going to have to start to make sure that you're putting out products that those regions will go for. I mean, that's the business side of it. And then there's a moral side of it as well, saying, you know what, we're creating properties and characters, and it's our responsibility to reflect the world around us and not just pander to one demographic. That moral argument gets a little bit more shaky, and I only say that from the standpoint of everybody has a different way of looking at things. Everybody has different morals. So it's not like, there's not a one-size-fits-all answer there. We're living that right now through our politics and our current environment. There's, as much as people would like it to be true, there's not there's only one answer to how you do all these things. Just not. But anyway, my point in all this was that approach was failing, because a lot of these efforts, they go out and then the title is almost immediately canceled or it's not promoted. And so none of these efforts are really succeeding, that they're going out and they're vanishing into the ether, and then we do it again and again, but nothing is really sticking. And Eric Canete brings up a good point, which is to say, that premise is flawed, that I'm assuming that the success metric is based on follow-through and long-term investment and not just on the act of introduction itself. And his suggestion is maybe it's not about long-term sustainability, but instead the exercise of D&I, which I'm not making judgment whether that's good or bad. Diversity inclusion is a D&I. And I'll make that judgment. I think diversity inclusion for both the business reasons and for the other items is good. I think it's a good idea to include diversity inclusion. I think the more people have gotten kind of shy of just saying it's good. I think it is good. I think that that's a smart, wise thing to do financially. And I think it's a good thing to do just to appeal to a broader audience and get more people into the hobby. I think it's a good thing. And maybe that's where I'm coming from, is I do think it's a good thing. And I think by and large, people fail at that approach. But anyway, he's right. I think in his assessment, there definitely is that side of things, which is, maybe the goal is just to introduce things. And here's where, so I thought about that and I kind of really turned it over my head. And I think he's making a good point. The only success is not purely demonstrated by saying having a 100-issue run of a comic. Not at all. If you've got something really strong, I mean, it's going to be a weird analogy, but take Watchmen, for example, before they started doing spinoffs and all the other crap, and you had a limited series that very powerful, very significant to comics, and only a crazy person would say was not successful on every metric. It was very successful, critically acclaimed, financially super successful. I guess it was unsuccessful in being fair to Alan Moore. You could say that, but generally that was a success. And success does not mean you have a long comic run. Success does not mean that at some point Jim Lee comes in and does a cover for your comic. There are different ways of having success, and sometimes introducing a character, getting it out into the public space, and having that a memorable moment is successful. But even if I use that metric, I still think the modern publishers are failing in this approach. And the reason I say that is because the whole goal of diversity inclusion in comics these days feels like more of an opening statement designed to, I'm not sure, get praise, get a press release, portray the company in a certain way. So it feels to me like the true goal people are shooting for most of the time is not to actually introduce diverse characters into the mix, but to make the company appear like it's a good, progressive company that people can be proud about. And that is self-serving to the company. I don't think that really ticks the box on any of the things diversity inclusion is meant to bring. And I'll say it from this standpoint, you introduce a comic, and you then, you put out a press release 3-4 months back when the comic is initially getting ordered. And then you do nothing more. You don't market it. You don't follow through. Now, some of this is the way the publishing industry is broken today. It's where, their goal is to get sales from the comic shop through the distributor, not to the end customer. And so if they roll out some initial press and some marketing during initial order time, then not maybe, I know for a fact, a lot of the publishers just kind of assume that the comic shop will, quote unquote, take it from there. But the comic shop's not going to take it from there. They don't know how to market stuff in a lot of cases. They're cash strapped. That's happening at a very local, regional level. That would be crazy. It'd be a little bit like if Apple decided to put all of their marketing efforts into, promoting to Best Buy or Walmart or AT&T and Verizon. Basically, they put all their attention at creating ads for those corporations. So then those corporations would turn around and then sell the iPhone aggressively. And of course, that doesn't work. You have to go out, even if you're in a B2B2C business, you still have to do something to get your consumers aware. And that seems like a super broken thing. By the way, for all comics, white dudes, diverse people, whoever it happens to be, all comics sort of fail in that result. And case in point, because somebody else in the video brought up, hey, what you're saying is fine for diversity, but the same thing could be applied to lots of, white dude comics. And you're right. Take a look you get J.J. Abrams and Son to write a Spider-Man book, and you completely drop all marketing and promotion of that book off a cliff, by the time issue 2 is out. And yeah, what do you expect is going to happen? I mean, that's not going to be successful. So I think that there is a solid part to this argument that says sometimes just creating these new characters, getting them out into the world matters, and that is a good thing. And I think there's some truth to that, but there still is a follow through that just doesn't happen. That, at the publisher level, you invest no time into marketing, you invest no time into actually seeing this character through. Whether you're doing 1 issue or 12 issues or an ongoing series or whatever you're trying to do, you're not doing the character any favors to be remembered and to matter. The sad part is if you go into a lot of comic shops and you bring up some of these characters, some of these diverse characters that have been created, most fans have no idea that this even happened. It's completely flown under the radar. And so by that metric, I think, it's a failure. This is where there's no follow through for success. Because if your customer base, if the people you're arguably making this stuff for in order to inspire them has no idea it exists, then something broke somewhere. And I think, again, this is certainly true with any character of any race, any gender. But when you simultaneously as a company, and in particular, Marvel's doing a lot of this, although DC has tons too, when they go out and they say, we are going to put emphasis on, reaching other audiences, on, finding underrepresented people and creating characters for them. That is our goal. Okay, again, I'm not saying that's a bad goal. I'm saying it's actually a smart goal for the reasons I mentioned at the beginning. But we have to be honest with ourselves. You're failing at that goal. You are not reaching those people. You're creating stuff. I mean, and maybe part of what needed to be said more clearly in the previous video is this is not the fault of the writer, the artist, the people putting together the comic. In fact, in many cases, these people, Greg Pak again comes to mind, but there's many others. They're doing their best to market in their own tiny little bubble in social media on their own. But that's only going to go so far. It's not going to go very far. It needs to come from this corporation level in order to actually try and land these titles. Frankly, all of their titles, whatever the race, gender, etc. of the character is. But if your stated goal is that you want to grow markets, you want to reach new audiences, new readers, you want to let people be able to see themselves in these characters, then, checkpoint time, you are failing at that goal. And it's other than, yes, I think if a customer happens to, recognize this title exists, hunt it out in a comic store and find them, but our sales figures suggest that somewhere in the realm of 5 to 10,000 people, maybe. And in a planet of, billions of people, but at least in the US market of hundreds of millions of people, that's not acceptable. That's not success. There's much better, more effective ways at getting your message out than the way you're currently doing it. So anyway, it's a good dialogue. It's a good back and forth. Eric, if you're listening to this and you happen to be, I would love to chat about this, debate it, although I don't think it'd be much of a debate. I do think we are actually in way more agreement than anything else. I think it's just a matter of not necessarily kind of disagreeing about something, but, what's the solution here? I keep coming back to, in many cases, the solution is like, guys, you got to market your stuff. You have to market it. And maybe the broken part truly is you see your role as marketing to the comic shop and then you're done. And that's not going to work. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Eric Canete, I hope you're saying your name right, although about a 90% chance I'm not. At any rate, he has worked on Aeon Flux, Teen Titans Go, Justice League, Beware the Batman for Warner Brothers. Really incredible talent, great work, great art. You can go to his website, which, unless I'm stupid, which is also very possible, I'll link to in the description. And I would some amazing artwork to buy if you are into that, or just some stuff to drool over and look at, because really nice stuff. Anyway, like, subscribe, click the bell for notification, all that cool stuff. Most importantly, though, thanks for listening.